California Unified Service Providers presents A Good versus Bad ABA Program, a Behavioral Frags production. In this video, we are going to discuss the following components of behavior analysis: the 4 domains, the 7 dimensions, and how to determine a good versus a bad ABA program. The field of behavior analysis consists of 4 domains: theoretical conceptual, basic experimental, applied, and service delivery. The theoretical conceptual domain encompasses the theory and philosophy of the science of behavior and influences the other 3 domains. A specific example of this is Skinner's 1953 publication entitled Science and Human Behavior. Research conducted in the basic experimental domain is focused on benefiting the field as a whole. For example, research on different schedules of reinforcement has allowed us to predict how an organism will likely respond depending on the timing of reinforcement delivery. In the applied domain, research benefits the participants that are in the study. We can evaluate the effects of the intervention using experimental designs such as reversal, multiple baseline, changing criterion, and alternating treatment design. For example, Greer and colleagues published a study in 2016 and found schedule thinning procedures that use discriminative stimuli can maintain the effectiveness of functional communication training while minimizing the need for punishment or other supplemental procedures. Research from the applied domain is then used to develop interventions for specific individuals. This is the service delivery domain. In this domain, the focus is on the desired outcome, and A/B experimental designs are often used. For example, we can use the applied research on schedules of reinforcement and functional communication training to design a specific treatment package for your client. You can read more about the 4 domains in Moore and Cooper's 2003 article published in the Behavior Analyst. Bearwolf and Risley published 2 articles, one in 1968 entitled Some Current Dimensions of Applied Behavior Analysis, and another in 1987 entitled Still Some Current Dimensions of Applied Behavior Analysis. In these articles, they identified 7 dimensions, which were applied, behavioral, analytic, conceptually systematic, technological, affective, and generality. We will go into more detail of these dimensions later in the video. These 7 dimensions were identified to guide researchers in the applied domain and should also be used to guide behavioral practitioners in the service delivery domain when designing interventions for consumers. But the big question is, how do we differentiate between a good versus a bad behavior analytic intervention? In the end, there is no such thing as a good or a bad behavior analytic intervention. Either it is behavior analytic intervention or it is not. It is important to check for the 7 dimensions and question whether or not an intervention is truly behavior analytic. Let's look at each dimension in a little more detail. Applied. Interventions that are implemented directly benefit the consumer, whether it's in the domain of verbal behavior, language, social skills, adaptive living skills, etc. Behavioral. We measure observable behavior that is operationally defined. An example of this for Man for Attention would be gaining the listener's attention by either vocalizing their name at an audible volume or tapping them on any part of the shoulder, back, or arm before manning for an object, activity, or information. We would then evaluate if 2 or more different observers report the same event. This is referred to as inter-observer agreement. Analytical. Here we determine if there is a functional relationship between the treatment or independent variable on the subsequent target behaviors or dependent variable. Conceptually systematic. The interventions used are derived from established principles of behavior analysis. Technological. The treatment plan is written with sufficient detail that it can be implemented consistently across multiple people. This will also allow behavioral practitioners to assess whether treatment is implemented with fidelity. Effective. The intervention is working to either increase desired behavior or decrease undesirable behavior. It should be noted that the change should be significant enough to make a meaningful difference. For example, raising a math grade from an F to a B rather than an F to a D. Generality. Skills that are learned generalize across people, settings, and time, and dimensions are different than what they were originally taught. When selecting an ABA program, remember to look for all 7 dimensions. For more information, call us at 310-792-2877 or 310-792-CUSP, or Visit us on the web at www.cuspautism.com.